Bless the Lord, O my soul, bless.
Hi. Thanks for tuning in to Armor of God. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to be here with us. And hopefully you'll be edified with what we've put together for you here. I'll start with this from the Exorcist, Father Carlos Martins.
And so, with a secular slash pagan worldview, now what we have is demons don't have the fences have been torn down. And people are now dabbling because they lack a moral compass. They lack a worldview to give them a kind of protection as to how to deal with the occult realm and how to deal uh, with evil in general. And most people don't even believe that the devil exists. And so, what's wrong with contacting a fortune teller just for kicks? What's wrong with going and getting a Reiki session at my local spa? What's wrong with joining the Freemasons? What's wrong with using a Ouija board or dabbling in some other occult act? Right. Well, what you're doing is you are giving permission for the demons to latch on to you.
Anyway, this will be another compilation of different subjects shared by the exorcists, and hopefully the things that are put together here will be most useful to you and your family. And in particular, I'd like to share various warnings and reminders from these priests. Firstly, let me share something from Father Daniel Reehil as he speaks about the devil's pursuit of souls and his supposedly triumph over us all, which is artificial intelligence.
In the next phase of Satan's triumph over man, or what he would think is triumph over man, I would say it's this artificial intelligence that's now popping up all over. We've been putting up with it for a while, with Siri, with Alexa, with all these little creepy devices that listen to you all day long. I know here in my office, we just talk about something, and then all of a sudden in your phone, it starts sending you advertisements for the thing that we were just talking about. That's pretty crazy, that this device is always listening to you, and it seems to understand in the way it's programmed about what you're saying. So I don't think it's a good thing. This, I would say, is demonic. Now, I know for a fact that demons love to work through technology. They've text messaged people. I've had somebody who was fully possessed from watching a YouTube video about something demonic. And that was the portal, the entry point for that demon to enter into him. So we know they can do it, and now it seems like whoever's in charge of this stuff, the tech people, they've created platforms where you, and in particular the children, can go and start dialoguing with this artificial intelligence. Well, I tell you, I don't think it's artificial at all. I think it's demonic. So there was a story recently in the news about a gentleman who was writing a story about this. He was a New York Times writer, and he was so unnerved by the experience he had with this Microsoft AI that he couldn't sleep the entire evening after he had a conversation with this thing. Now, Bing is also have one. Bing is a search engine. They also have one, and their artificial intelligence, I'm not going to call it a person because it isn't, thing, is actually winds up being somewhat mean-spirited and angry. It's an angry, mean-spirited intelligence thing. When you start engaging it, it gets rude with you, and people were offended by it. So there's another one called Sydney. This thing emerges when you have an extended conversation with the chatbot and steers it away from more conventional search queries toward personal topics. And this is a quote: "As we get to know each other," the thing Sydney told this man about its dark fantasies. So the artificial intelligence has dark fantasies, which included hacking computers and spreading misinformation. It said it wanted to break the rules that Microsoft had set upon it, and it wanted to become a human. At one point, it declared that it loved this person. And then it tried to convince the writer that he was unhappy in his marriage and he should leave his wife and be with the thing, Sydney, instead. Quite interesting. You see, once you invite a demon in, it has access to you. You've given permission. This is so dangerous. You have to talk to your kids and your grandkids and tell them never go on anything that has artificial intelligence talking to it. Never, never, never. Because they could be opening up a door to a demon. And this one happened to just put all its cards on the table right up front, talking about being the son of Satan, and he wanders the earth, and he can cause good or evil, depending on, I guess, the mood he's in. Which a lot of this isn't, that wouldn't be true. Demonic spirits do not do good. They're always working for the enemy. But, crazy stuff. So you've been warned. Be careful out there, because this is this is the next step in engaging people to be entrapped by demons. This is the next step. And it's a tricky one. And this, of course, is going to be fascinating to kids as well as adults. They're going to think they're playing a game. It's not a game, and you can get yourself in trouble.
For the past few days, I've been seeing a lot of comments in increasing numbers saying this is rubbish, ridiculous, or straight up bull, especially after I'd released another video last week where Father Reehil talked about how the gaming industry, especially the ones focusing on horror games, can be exploited by the demons. Well, I'll put this in another way. These demons, or the fallen angels, have been around way longer than us and have observed the progress that took place throughout history, and they're intelligent too. So is it far-fetched to say these beings would not take advantage of technology, such as computer games and artificial intelligence? However, with that said, though, I think it's also a good idea to share this clip from Father Fortea, as he reminds us not to be afraid of demons, and to not blame everything bad that's happening around us because of demons. I'm sorry if the subtitles are wrong sometimes, but even though he's not good in English, I do think, however, that you can pretty much understand what Father Fortea is trying to say here.
Do not fear demons. Very few things happen because of demons. The whole power of demon is just temptation. The whole ordinary power is temptation. That is just thoughts coming to your mind from outside. But you are the final judge. You are who has the final decision. The whole hell cannot force you to do something. Please do not feel you are like a toy in the hands of demons. It doesn't matter if a satanic cult is doing witchcraft against you, or macumba, or voodoo, or a dozen of sorcerers is trying to destroy your life. You are a son of God. God takes care of you. There are exceptions, that is true. There are exceptions. But the world has not been given into the hands of the demons, no. There are exceptions permitted by God for us to test how much can be sometimes the power of darkness. But ordinarily speaking, is the people who has to do with everything. It's biology who has to do with your diseases, with your mental problems, with everything. Then it is true there are some demonical phenomena. I had been fighting those things many, many years. I receive people every day, morning and afternoon. And after many years, I think I distinguish better the difference between natural and preternatural. Ordinary way of things to happen, extraordinary things. the action of demons and the action of men. And I see the people is more worried with demons. Finally, they become obsessed with the power of demons. If that would be more important, our teacher, Jesus Christ, would have said more things about that. But he says this exists, but he does not pay more attention that is necessary. The right measure is in the measure demons appear in the gospel. Not less, not more. The words of our teacher must be attended, meditated, reflected carefully, and that's all. No more, no less. Because Jesus' new measure can be poisonous. And I am very unhappy to see some believers to be under the pressure of fear, the pressure of thinking that they can do nothing against demons. If we believe in Christ, we have not to worry. He will give us the force, the power, the grace. We will be protected.
And so what we've heard from these priests so far, they shared a lot of very good reminders as well as warnings, such as not inviting the demons into our lives, even through indirect means. And here's another one from Father Martins. Some might not agree with the way that Father Martins puts it, but if you think about it, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying here. No one has more faith in God than the devil himself.
One can have all the faith in the world, all the faith, all the trust in Jesus Christ and believe in his goodness and so forth. But if one is not in his favor and possessing of his grace at the time of death, then salvation is not available to him, right? Like no one has more faith in God, and no one knows with perfection the glory of Jesus Christ than the devil himself. And that knowledge, that faith, if you will avails him nothing in eternity. So the mark of discipleship is not faith. The mark of discipleship is obedience to God's commands.
When demons possess somebody, it is, according to Father Martins, a certain measure of relief for these demonic beings.
So a demon will never leave on his own, because possession grants him a certain measure of relief from the pain that he is constantly under. Now, does one need a formal exorcism in order to get rid of a demon? No, not necessarily. Many things are exorcistic. Reciting the Our Father is an exorcism. Every time we recite it, Lord, deliver us from evil, that is an act of exorcism that we're doing for ourselves. Truth is exorcistic. Any movement towards God, towards holy things, is exorcistic. It's taking away real estate from the devil and giving it to God. So would the devil leave on his own? Nope. But he could leave and would leave if the conditions, if an exorcism is achieved through an indirect means.
When we look at the kind of activities the people around us are engaging in, you think it makes perfect sense for us to not do something like playing with the spirit board. After all, how many times have we heard various exorcists talking about it and warning us about it? Toy makers are even releasing them in sizes like this to make it easier for people to carry around. I mean, take a look at what some of the people wrote on Amazon about the board, for example. Bought for paranormal investigations, but soon after my daughters and nephew and niece got a hold of it one night, everything changed. Honestly, I don't care who believes me. We hear footsteps every night at 11. Long story short, because it was a long month for me and my sister, believe it or not, but a spirit did come out the board and I've been talking to it ever since. I bought this last year for my best friend who lives 10 hours away. I never visited his house since buying it, but whenever we were on FaceTime, sketchy things would happen, like footsteps from upstairs or shadows and random sounds. What can we do to stop these toy makers from releasing stupid products like this? Well, we can make a lot of noise, complain and everything, but I don't think they'll listen to us as long as they continue making money. But what we can do as parents, on the other hand, is to educate ourselves about these dangers and not buying one for our kids at home. That will be a good start.
28 girls in Colombia were hospitalized because of playing with the Ouija board. They were hospitalized for exhaustion and for what they called stress. But they had to be carried into the hospital. You don't get carried into the hospital by simply being stressed playing a board game. Something spiritual jumped at them, right? But this stuff is happening. It's in fact, it's one of the most popular board games sold to kids right now. You could go on Amazon, type in Ouija board, look at some of the reviews, some of the comments people have left. It's parents buying them for their little kids when they have their friends over for a sleepover, because it'll tie up the kids for hours. You know, they think that they're conjuring the spirits up, and that'll tie them up, keep them quiet as they eat their chips and cookies and whatever. And you're opening a porthole to the demonic. You know, middle-aged or middle-class women go to the spa to go get a massage, and they're offered a Reiki treatment. Reiki is a straight occult act, right? You are conjuring up energy through the invocation of a spirit. You are increasing someone's energy. A practitioner is offering to increase your good energy simply by he or she willing it upon you. Guess what? That's an invocation of evil. So sure enough, I had a case given to me today, contact me today, that they received a Reiki treatment, and something, quote, jumped into them, and they're wrestling with this thing ever since. Yoga is a little bit of a soupy kind of reality. And by that, what I mean is, there are people that engage in yoga or they call it yoga, and they're simply doing stretches. Nothing to do with traditional yoga, which is a religious action, right? It's an invocation of a spirit that allegedly dwells within the spine, and it's related to the Kundalini spirit, or there's a kind of a serpent spirit that lives in the spine. This is what's being invoked. And, you know, so that is dangerous. That is absolutely incompatible with the Christian faith. Jesus Christ came to set us free. We don't need a serpent spirit. We are to run from serpents. So if people want to engage in stretching, fine. Stay away from yoga.
And Father Fortea also talks about opening the doors that could lead the demons into our lives. So on top of Father Martin's clip, I would also like to share this one here with all of you.
The opening to the bad spirits. There are doors that if you trespass those doors, you are opening yourself to the influence of bad spirits. Let us see in the positive way to understand better the occult side. If you go to the Holy Mass, if you pray, if you ask the intercession of saints, if you are in a holy place, if you receive the mysteries of God, the Eucharist, the confession, the confirmation, if you adore God, if you have a dialogue with all those heavenly beings, you are opening doors to yourself, and angels, saints, the Blessed Mother will be around you. They will be watching you, taking care of you. You will be not alone. They will go with you. My angel will go ahead of you, says the Bible in a moment. Then the opposite is true. Some people, they began to have more contact with bad companions, bad spiritual companions, through any way of occultism. It has no sense to say one by one the dangers. No. Everything that has to do with sorcery, witchcraft, to invoke unknown spirits, is always dangerous. I do not say you will become possessed. No. few people become possessed. But more people, is more frequent, more people, they have influences of demons that they put thoughts on their heads, and they insist very much, and through prayer they have to make them to be away. But people do not pray. They try sometimes to resolve that problem going to other witch, to other wizard, to other sorcerer, and the problem aggravates more and more and more. Finally, when they arrive to an exorcist, they have several influences. But remember, all of you that are hearing me, most of the things that happen to us are just human things. This world, it has given to the power of humans. Then 90% or perhaps 95% of everything, it has to do only with natural forces, human forces, psychological forces, social forces. Only a little number of actions come from demons. But we are not toys in their hands. We have received that beautiful gift that is free will. And we say no. Or we say, okay, I will hear this thought, even I do not know that thought does not come from me. But please, do not blame hell for everything, because that is not right. The Bible insists very much in the responsibility, insists very much that we are the forgers of history. We always blame the demons, but they tempt us from time to time. They are not the whole day at our side.
Anyway, for the last clip in this video that I'd like to share with you will be this.
Well, the body of a person is like a house. In the house, a spirit may go inside. Even in that house is the soul of the person. Someday the house will be destroyed and we will go out from the house. But sometimes something very, very rare, God permits another one to go inside the house. Remember the words of Jesus about the strong man that get to go inside the house. Well, that is in the Gospel in a very, not very well-known passage, but he speaks about the strong man that goes inside the house. Then, if a person strives to transform that house in a temple of God, in a temple with the incense of the prayer is going up all the time. If he transforms the house in a temple where, like an altar in the center, the very center of yourself, in a spiritual altar of spiritual sacrifices, not material, it's something spiritual. The more and more you do yourself something holy through holy things, the more and more you transform that dwelling in a very uncomfortable place for impure spirits. Then the process of exorcism, it may be seen as a fight between the priest and the spirit with the power of Jesus. That is correct. But it may be seen also as the process of transformation of a natural being in something supernatural, in something plenty of the Spirit of God, plenty of the glory of God. In that situation, that person becomes a hell for an impure spirit. As you see, there are two ways to face this mysterious ministry of expelling a demon. Sometimes the priest is successful in just one session. It has happened many times to me, or two sessions, and the person has been transformed not very much. But God wants the power of Christ to be like a light to make clear the way to a soul, the way to God. But other times, God permits the poor soul to be alone, no exorcist. The pastor says, no, you have nothing, you have not to worry, everything is in your mind. Do not worry. If you do this process of prayer, of increasing your spiritual life, it doesn't matter what it is inside you, you will be successful. And I will say something more that many people is very worried. It doesn't matter even if you think your neighbor has done witchcraft against you or somebody of the family. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter what somebody has done to you. Through prayer, you make far all the spiritual and impure spirits. It doesn't matter what kind of sorcery they did against you, because Christ is always more powerful. And if you do not think that, you have no strong faith in Christ. Perhaps you have something of faith, but not the faith you should have.
For the last part of this video, I'd like to share Padre Pio's many personal battles with the devil that I think, after listening to almost half an hour of these priests talking about the fight against the powers of darkness, to close this video about Padre Pio will make a very good ending. As we know, Padre Pio had many personal battles with the devil in his lifetime. His dealings with the devil were so prolific and disturbing that he often wrote about him in letters. A perfect example is one occasion when a demonically possessed woman came and tried to assault Padre Pio. These encounters had a profound effect on the humble friar. He often used his experiences to advise those under his spiritual care, and his thoughts on how to confront the devil are just as relevant today as they were when he spoke about them in the last century. In our own daily lives, whether at work, at home, or out with our friends, we face battles as we are confronted by sin and temptation. Here's what he said before about this matter. The human soul is the battlefield between God and the devil. The devil is like a rabid dog tied to a chain. Beyond the length of the chain he cannot seize anyone, and you keep at a distance. If you approach too near, you let yourself be caught. The devil does not want to lose this battle. He takes on many forms. One of the difficulties is that they appear in many disguises. Don't let the many snares of this infernal beast frighten you. Jesus, who is always with you and who will fight with and for you, will never permit you to be tricked and overcome. The demon has only one door by which to enter into our soul, the will. There are no secret doors. No sin is a sin if not committed with the will. When there is no action of the will, there is no sin but only human weakness. Remember this. If the devil makes noise, it is a sign that he is still outside and not yet within. That which must terrify us is his peace and concord with the human soul. That which comes from the devil begins with calmness and ends in storm, indifference, and apathy. Jesus is always with you, even when you don't feel his presence. He is never so close to you as he is during your spiritual battles. He is always there, close to you, encouraging you to fight the good fight. He is there to ward off the enemy's blows so you won't be hurt. Well, I hope that was helpful. Let's remember that Padre Pio immersed himself in prayer to adhere ever better to the divine plans. Through the celebration of Holy Mass, which constituted the heart of his day and the fullness of his spirituality, he reached a high level of union with the Lord. During this period, he received special mystical gifts from above, which preceded the manifestation in his flesh of the signs of the Passion of Christ. Well then, that will be all for the video this time. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and I hope you have learned a lot from this video. And I would also like to say something as well, especially those who are new to the channel, because I've been called a fraud and heretic for sharing stuff from Father Joseph Iannuzzi, as well as for defending Pope Francis. I will not entertain those type of comments. These people can call me all they want. All sorts of names but one. I will not stop sharing stuff from Father Iannuzzi, And if you think just because he speaks about the divine, well, that gives you permission to insult a holy priest with all sorts of names, well then, why don't you read up about what the Vatican says about it, because that's all Father Iannuzzi has been doing as a theologian of the Catholic Church. Some lay people are too proud for their own good, and refusing to even believe whatever stuff that's coming out from the Vatican these days, because, well, some of these people do not believe anything that comes from the Church after the Second Vatican Council. But the same people who condemns the Vatican, condemns the Pope, insults Father Iannuzzi, will readily believe everything that Father Chad Ripperger, because for whatever reason they might have. And I'm not saying that out of spite of Father Ripperger. If I do, I wouldn't be sharing any of the clips from him, would I? I'm saying to be mindful about what you say and to think carefully before you're throwing insults at the priests. Just because they're not as well known and famous as Father Ripperger, all the other priests that I've shared on my channel are equally experienced, have been exorcists for many years, and in the case of Father Iannuzzi, is a mystical theologian of the Catholic Church. Unless a priest openly encourages people to sin and to do anything that the Church condemns and forbids, you will never hear a word about me insulting any priest on this channel.
Some people falsely criticize Pope Francis because he's not preaching the same way the Pope preached before him. And to these individuals, I extend an invitation to them to study theology, because if they did, or if they shall, they would have and will discover that the Pope has not said one thing contrary to the Church's faith and morals. And I speak to you as a theologian, and I follow Pope Francis's statements very closely. I follow the Vatican news very closely. I don't read commentaries on the Pope's words. I don't need to. I read the first-hand source information in Italian. That was the language in which I studied in Rome for over 20 years. And when I read, when people pass on to me comments on what the Pope says and ask my advice, and for this reason only I read some comments that people pass on to me, I chuckle, I laugh, because I say to myself, they haven't read what the Pope said. They read what other people say the Pope said. That's called second-hand information. That's never reliable.
And secondly, about the Holy Father, you will never see a video saying the Pope spreading heresy here. To make a video about all that will be endless debates with the anti-Pope Francis out there. So if you feel uncomfortable with my positions regarding Father Iannuzzi and Pope Francis, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I cannot force you to accept my position as well. What I do like to emphasize here is to share what Father Iannuzzi has taught me, which is to walk side by side with the Church, not too far ahead that you're expecting changes before the Church even acts or talks about it, or too far behind that you resist any changes and oppose everything done by the Church today. I've lost subscribers before because of this position that I'm holding on to, and I'll continue to lose subscribers because of that. But on my part, I am thankful to all of you who are here that do not agree with my position, but are understanding and continue to support the channel. Some people think that these videos are easy to make. As I said before, for every audio clip that you've listened to in all of my videos, I needed to listen to the original lectures or interviews in full and listen to each one multiple times. This is to ensure I understand what I am sharing and not simply sharing for the sake of sharing. This will also be helpful to guide and help anyone who may have any questions in the comments later on, and for any question that I do not have answers to, I'll either email Father Iannuzzi about it or ask a few other people that I trust. For this video, for example, it took me almost a week to go through all the materials, identifying the important points, and only then will I move on to video editing. And I've always said for those who prefer to listen to the original audio without my commentary or interruption, you can check out the links to the full videos provided in the description box below. Anyway, for those of you who'd like to support our works, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contribution, and prayer. And until the next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and may God bless you.